Well, you came back, or maybe it's your first video, in which case I'm very sorry. Don't expect much. This is probably the worst review channel on YouTube at the current moment. We have no script, and we don't intend to have one ever. So either press stop now and click that unlike button, or brace yourself for me attempting to ramble through a video. Anyway. That out of the way, we've got this movie, The Babysitter. I believe it is a Netflix original. I could be wrong, though. But I watched it on Netflix, so I'm going to assume it is. Spoiler alert. You know the drill if you've seen this channel. If you don't, you probably know what a spoiler alert is, so you've been warned. If you don't want this movie ruined, do not watch this video. If you like quality videos, do not watch this video. Anyway, let's just get right into it. You've been warned. So we have this young man, Cole. He's a target for the local bullies, to put it nicely. You know, basketball to the head, picked on nonstop, teased, whatever. Right at the beginning of the movie, he's like shoved onto the street or whatever by this bully kid and his posse of other bullies, whatever. And he's saved by Samara Weaving, I think is her name's character, who is his babysitter, B. She's older woman, attractive, typical babysitter trope, right? Anyway, she whispers something into this kid's ear, and the kid's all like, oh, wide-eyed, and frigs right off. So I don't know what she said to him. I can't remember if it told us or not either, but whatever. Anyway, turns out that Cole's parents are going off for the weekend to the city, and B will be babysitting him, as she usually does. Apparently, he's the last kid like of his age in his school that has a babysitter still. I think in Canada, if you hit 12 years old, you don't have to have anyone watching you when you're home alone. I don't know if that's the case everywhere or in the States or whatnot. I think this takes place in the States. Although they also reference a double-double, so maybe it is Canada. So I don't know. Anyway, he has a babysitter. Long story short, no one else does, he does. But she's cool and hot and fun and nice. So, you know what? I'd be fine with that too. Yeah, they get along quite well, honestly. And he also has this friend named Melanie, who's like the across the street neighbor. And her dad is going through like a midnight life crisis, just broke up with the mom or divorced or whatever, and bought like his dream car from his like high school wish list or whatever. And there's a whole thing. He's kind of a douchebag. He like comes to school to pick her up, and she's like, can we give Cole a ride home? Because they're literally across the street. And he's like, yeah, Cole, your mom probably thinks you're taking the bus, right? And Cole's like, I don't know. He's like, yeah, you probably should take the bus. And then he revs his engine and takes off. Quality gentleman, that one. Anyway, long story short, he's on the phone with Melanie talking about the whole situation. You know, parents are going and the babysitter's going to come over. And of course, Melanie's like, you know, your parents are going away to do it, right? And he's like, yeah, probably. Either that or to get away from me. And she's like, no, they're doing it. It's funny because there's a scene of them having like very unromantic relations of some sort in a hotel room. I'm just going to leave it at that. To further emphasize that she was kind of correct. But, you know, anyway, doesn't matter. So she also insinuates that, you know, that's probably what B's doing as soon as you go to bed, right? She's going to have her boyfriend over and they're going to go on the couch, and he's like, she wouldn't do that. And Melanie says, yeah, have you ever been awake after you've fallen asleep and like gone downstairs and see? Probably not, right? And he's like, well, no. All right, well, I'm telling you. Anyway, B comes over, parents leave, they do their little fun night. They have like a little dance party. They watch Billy Jack on a projector on the garage door or whatever. If you haven't seen Billy Jack, by the way, fun movie. It's a classic. 70s, 80s, I think. I can't remember. Anyway, they do that. They make pizza. They have like little chats. One of them is like, Cole is like, okay, so what's your like ultimate intergalactic save the day team? And she's like, what? And he's like, yeah, so aliens are coming. You need someone to save the day. She's like, all right. She picks a pretty good team. Kirk, Picard, Will Smith, and Jeff Goldblum, and Ellen Ripley, and a xenomorph. So yeah, that's pretty good. It doesn't really apply to the story at all, and I'm surprised I actually remembered that, considering how forgetful I am in these things usually. But anyway, there you go. That's the dream team that she picks. Long story short, it's time for bed. He's like, I'm not really tired. She's like, yeah, but I kind of am. And he's like, oh. She's like, listen, what if I give you a shot? Yeah, booze. She's offering a child booze, so that's cool. And he's like, okay. It's all right. She goes and prepares a shot for him and brings it to him. And he's like, okay, well, you got to do one too. He's like, all right. Goes back to the kitchen. He cleverly throws it into the plant because, you know, most kids of that age don't like the taste of like hard liquor or whatever. So the plant can have it. Anyway, the door opens and he like quickly goes, oh, like he thinks it's gross, like he just took it. And she's like, all right, well, you did it without me, fine. She takes a shot, puts him to bed. Oh yeah, just before this, they have a little moment where he's like, do you think my parents are going to get a divorce? Because they're not like, I mean, they're not fighting or anything, but I guess it's kind of stagnant, and he could pick up on that. And she's like, I don't know, man. Do you think so? If they do, you're going to be fine, dude. You're like a tough kid or whatever, blah, blah, blah. The whole pep talk thing, like, don't stress about it. Even if it does happen, which it probably won't happen, you're going to be fine. You're tough. You're tougher than you give yourself credit for, all that pep talk garbage. But a very genuine, heartfelt moment. Anyway, he goes to bed. And he's talking to Melody for, you know, on the phone while he's supposed to be sleeping. And all of a sudden the doorbell rings. Like, I think it's like 3 hours later or something. And she's like, go look. And he's like, okay, we'll talk to you later. So he sneaks down to the railing of the stairs and he looks down onto the main floor and he sees them all sitting in a circle and they're doing like a spin the bottle truth or dare. So I can't remember what the first one was, but it lands on B, and yeah, her friends are there. So there's Max and John, which are two kind of like manly men, guys, jocks, whatever you want to call them. And then there's Sonia, who's, I don't know, like a scene kid maybe? Not a goth or an emo, but like kind of leaning that way, I guess. And then we got Allison, the cheerleader. So you got everyone. You got all the tropes. And then you got B, of course, who's just the stereotypical hot chick. Anyway, they're playing Spin the Bottle, Truth or Dare. And again, I don't remember what the first one does, but it lands on B. And then one of them's like, you got to kiss everyone in the group. And she's like, all right, cool. She smooches Max, and then she like not hardcore, but she like makes out pretty significantly with Allison, and of course Cole's on the stairs just like, oh yeah. And then she goes to kiss John or whatever, and she just kisses him on the cheek or licks him on the cheek, and he's like, oh, that's bullshit. And then she goes to oh yeah, there's another guy there too, Daniel. He's kind of like a nerdier guy too or whatever, but anyway, then she goes and she gives Sonia a little smooch, and then she goes to Daniel, and Daniel stands up and he's all nervous. He's like, oh man, like she's like, what's up? And he's like, I want to, but like, I don't know, man. I'm nervous. I just met you guys. And she's like, okay, you know what? Just breathe. It's gonna be okay. It's his first kiss, and she knows that. And she's like, okay, well, I'm gonna make this as memorable as I can for you. You know what I mean? Everyone's first kiss should be, you know, good. It should be memorable. So says, just don't worry about it. Just close your eyes, breathe easy, and I'll take care of you. And he's like, okay. And he closes her eyes, and she takes two big Bowie knives and shoves them in the top of his skull. And he's like, what the hell? And then he says something, and I can't remember exactly what he says, but he's trying to say something on purpose or something, and he says porpoise because there's knives in his brain. And of course, Max makes fun of him. He's like, do you say porpoise? And they're all laughing and shit. And it's like, Cole at this point is like, oh my god, okay. And then they take out this golden chalice and they pull out the knives, and they blood splurting everywhere, and they're collecting it in this chalice. And John gets sprayed right in the face, and he's freaking out. He's like, man, I didn't sign up for this shit. So really, good times all around for them. Cole, of course, is like, yeah, fuck this, I'm out. He runs up to his room, starts looking around. He's like, okay, opens the window, looks down. He's like, all right, I can make a rope out of blankets, but that's when he hears them coming up to the room. So he quickly goes into bed and pretends he's asleep. And they come in and they're looking at him and they're like, oh, what a sweet little guy. Did you bring the needle? And, oh yeah, at the beginning of the movie, it's established that he's afraid of needles, essentially. So props to him for remaining asleep for the whole time. They're basically like, yeah, we brought the needle. Are you sure he's not going to wake up? And B says, no, I put like a ton of drugs in the shot that I gave him, so he's going to be out. He's not going to feel a thing. He's not going to wake up. It's all good. So they put a needle in him and missed the vein, and then they put it in again, so it's like a double whammy of his greatest fear or whatever. Anyway, they withdraw some blood, and they're talking about essentially sort of what they're doing, like loosely. It's like a ritualistic thing. And they leave. They have the blood, so they're good. And Cole right away is like, oh my god. So he gets up again, and he's like rummaging around. He ties a blanket together and ties it to his bed, throws it out the window, and goes to go down, and B's right behind him, and he faints. So probably loss of blood, which is what they suggest it probably is too. And he wakes up tied to a chair, and Max has no shirt on, and the first thing he's like is, why is he not wearing a shirt? And Max is like, really? That's the first question you're gonna ask? Anyway, it's because of the blood, obviously. Sees John all covered in blood. He's like, man, no one will give me a shirt. So poor John's still covered in this poor other kid's blood that they just killed. Anyway, they're like, yeah, okay, so you heard everything, blah, 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 blah. Whatchamacallit. They have him tied up or whatever, and they're essentially, he has like a little pocket knife, and he's like trying to cut the rope and like casually being, like, why, and all that stuff, and I thought we were friends and all that stuff. And Allison's like, there's a mirror right behind you, and I can see you cutting the rope, right? And he's like, what? And he quickly hurries up, and he keeps going with the knife, trying to go faster and faster. And they're all like, oh, look at him, what a cute little guy. Anyway, he had called the cops. So at this point, lights flashing outside show up, and the cops come in, and they kick down the door, and they have their guns drawn, and Max takes like an iron fire poker thing and like spear launches it, hits one of the cops right in the eye, so he's down. The other cop, reactionary, like shoots, has like a little rifle or a pump action shotgun or something, and he shoots Allison right in the chest, and she's down out. And B sneaks up behind the second cop, I guess the partner, and right across the throat. So he's done, and then takes the metal thing and rips it right through his head, and anyway. So yeah, 2 dead cops. Because in these kind of movies, cops are literally useless. They're not like trained at all. They don't know, nothing, no backup, nothing like that. Anyway. So they got the upper hand again. They got 2 dead cops, mind you, but, they're still in charge of the situation. Then the radio goes off from one of the cops and like, yeah, how's everything at that place or whatever? And B looks at Cole and is like, okay, I know you know. What is the code for all clear? And he gives some bullshit thing, and she's like, listen, when you lie, you look away. It's very obvious. Tell me the code right now. He's like, 10-4, obviously. And they're like, okay, what's the code for going out to get something to eat? And he's like, what do you mean? And she's like, just tell me. And he's like, code 7 or something. And so Max grabs the walkie and says, yeah, 10-4. We're just on a code 7 now, or whatever it is. I don't know if it's code 7 or... Anyway, the cops buy it, essentially. And that's the end of that. At this point, we have Allison start screaming. So she's not dead. She's freaking out. They're like, they shot me in the tit. They weren't even fully grown yet, and I was going to get my nipple pierced. And she's like freaking out bad. And they're all like, oh my god, like it's cool. Don't worry about it. And this is the opportunity that Cole needs to run for it. So he bolts. He takes off up the stairs, and John chases him. And he ends up shoving John over the railing down, like, I guess 3 flights of stairs. I don't know how big this house is, but it looks like it's pretty high up. And he lands on something jagged. I'm not sure what it is. I think it's a piece of wood or something. But he lands on it and right through the neck. So John's dead. So that's fun. So he runs up to his room, and he starts going down that sheet ladder that he made previously. But lo and behold, there's Max. He's like, what are you doing, bud? Come on. And he starts pulling the sheet up, and Cole falls, and I guess he like gets wind knocked out of him or something for like a half second, and then he bolts it to his treehouse. So again, I forgot to mention this too, but in the beginning of the movie, it's established that they're tearing down the treehouse. They're in the process of it. So But there's still enough there that he can climb up the ladder, and so he's got the high ground, and he breaks the rungs of the ladder, and he's looking down at Max like, shit. And he crouches down, and he's like looking, and he can't see Max. Anyway, Max climbed up on the other side, and he's got... yeah, he's like gonna tackle him or something. He gets away. I can't remember how he gets away, but like, I'll just skip ahead because I don't want to sit here humming and hawing trying to remember for like an hour. Anyway, he ends up going into the crawl space under the house, and there's like, this is another thing that was established in the beginning of the movie that I forgot to mention. So there are tons of like spiders and creepy crawlies under there, but he hides under there. He goes to the garage and gets some tools and whatever. He finds like a big firework. He's like, this will come in handy probably. Toolbox with a drill, etc. Buddy's dead body that they sacrificed with the 2 knives in his head. He's in the garage, and good times. Anyway, he unscrews the crawl space under the house and goes under there and hides under a blanket. And he's like, oh my god. Okay, just chill. And that's when Sonya walks by and she stops. She's like, yeah, that'd be a good place to hide, wouldn't it? He couldn't re-screw it on from the outside, so I guess it's ajar slightly, or it's not like attached properly, and she right away knows, okay, he's down there, totally. So she sneaks in, and she's like kicking tarps and stuff that are under there that he might be hiding under, and she gets to the blanket that he's under, and there's like a spider on it, and she's like, oh, cool. It's like, hey, little guy, and he thinks she's talking to her, and then he sees the shadow of the spider. He's like, oh god. Anyway, she thinks the spider's cool or whatever. At that point, Max is like, Sonya, where the hell are you? And she's like, alright, I'm coming. I guess he's not under here. So as soon as she turns around and starts crawling back to the thing, Cole like flicks the blanket so the spider flies off. Unfortunately, the spider lands on a mouse trap, which goes snap and alerts her that someone's in there still. She's like, alright, well, here we are. And as she's approaching, Cole's like, now's my opportunity. Lights the firework. Misses her, of course. It's like, you missed me, you idiot. And it's like in a corner burning or whatever. And as she approaches, she puts her hands on 2 mouse traps. Ouch. Cole bolts it. He goes at the crawl space, quickly screws her in with the drill again, so she's in there. And it's like, you son of a bitch, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, boom! Firework goes off. She's like engulfed in flames, essentially. And as it's calming down, he's like, oh, I'm still alive. And then it blows up again, and then there's complete silence. At which point, Max is like, what did you just do? He's like, I blew her up. With what? Firework. He's like, that's cool. So Max is a really interesting character in the sense that he's like kind of cheering on Cole at the same time as trying to kill him. So at this point, he's basically got Cole on the ground and he's ready to do the thing. And then you hear little splatter sounds. He's like, what the hell's that? Cole sighs. Eggs. What? Eggs. It's this fucking bully that's... He's coming by an egg in my house, and that's when Max gets into pep talk mode. He's like, you gonna let that little shit treat your house, your family like that? No, you're gonna go over there and you're gonna stand up to that piece of shit. And he's like, really? Where's this coming from? Anyway, he goes up to the bully, and bully's throwing eggs, and he's like, listen, and he does the Billy Jack thing, is like, I'm gonna take my foot and put it on this side of your head or whatever, and there's nothing you can do about it. If you've seen the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. Anyway, they show that scene from the movie in the beginning when they're watching it on the garage, so there is a reference if you've never seen it. Anyway, he does that, and then he does this little wuss kick that like doesn't do anything, and he falls on his ass, and the bully's like, really? And he's like, okay, listen. He says under his breath, he's like, listen here, there's people in my house, they're trying to kill me. They already killed 2 cops, like, get out of here, dude, please. And like, the bully's like, okay, seriously? Holy shit. Alright, so here's the plan. I'm gonna go get to my bike, you hop on the back, we'll get the hell out of here. And he's like, okay. And then splat, egg on his head. Ha, yeah, right. Anyway, like that's actually happening. Or like I care. Good luck getting killed or whatever. And then he takes off. And Max approaches, like, okay, that was pretty sad, but you did stand up for yourself. So you know what? Good on you. I'm kind of proud of you right now. And he's like, so you're going to let me go? He's like, no. No, I'm just saying. You had to do that. Anyway, chases him. And then he remembers something that B had told him about bullies. And she's like, okay, this is the plan. When they're chasing you, You drop down quickly, they'll trip over you, get up, and then you kick them in the dick. And he does that exact plan, and it works, and Max trips over him, and he kicks him in the dick, and he's like, you missed my dick. He's like, you probably have a small dick. It's like, I do not. Anyway, he's got him in like a chokehold. What happens then? He has him in the chokehold, and okay, let me look at my shitty notes here that I can't even read half the time. I don't remember. Anyway, he gets out and he runs to Melanie's house. Or what? Oh, that's right. Okay, that's when the treehouse thing is. I messed this whole thing up. So the treehouse is after this. He runs to the treehouse and Max chases him up and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, Max falls because the bottom of the treehouse breaks out and he like gets tangled in a rope and he hangs himself. Okay, so Max is dead. Anyway, now we're caught up. So so Max is dead, and that's when you see B with his gun. She fires it, and he's like, oh shit. And he runs to Melanie's house across the street. Melanie's dad is not home for whatever reason. And he's like, I really am the only person with a babysitter still. She's like, yeah. It's like, all right. Anyway, you lock the door, right? It like auto locks. She's like, nope. And that's when the door opens and B walks in with the gun. And so they scramble and they hide and they do their little cat and mouse thing, and the same vase falls twice almost, but he catches it both times and they narrowly get out. They go up to the bathroom upstairs and he's like, they have a little moment. He's like, listen, why did you come here or whatever? And I'm not gonna, I don't know. There's this whole thing where he's like the hero or whatever, and he's like, I'm not gonna let them hurt you. Just stay here, don't worry about it. And they have a little smooch, which is adorable. And he's like, he quickly runs out and shuts the door, and she's like, what are you doing? The lock's in here. And he's like, oh, I was trying to make sure you were safe. She's like, okay, that's kind of sweet. We should make out later. He's like, yeah, I'm down. Anyway, sure, right? He takes off, and B, he runs back in the house or whatever, and into his house, I should say. And B's still looking for him, I guess, in that house. And he sees Allison's body, and he's like, oh god, ugh, okay, dead body, creepy. He goes close to her face and listens, and there's no breath, so he's like, okay, I guess she's dead, that's fine. So he goes into the kitchen, and he sees this book open. It's like this ancient Necronomicon-looking text book of some kind, really ancient. Pages are kind of worn and tattered. And he's looking at it, and he's reading, and it's like, okay, it's a ritual. Damn, dealing with the devil shit here, right? Anyway, Allison's awake, so she's back and ready to take him down. He scrambles, but she grabs a knife and she has him, and she falls or something. There's a little scene where she like starts saying that like her whole life is ruined and whatever, and you know, like she got shot in the boob, and how is she gonna get any job now? And he's like, well, what do you want to be? And she's like, a journalist. And he's like, well, A, you're hot as hell. B, you're like super nice. He's just buttering her up at this point. Like, obviously, he thinks she's a psycho. He says that you're really pretty and all that and blah, blah, blah. She's like, you think so? And he's like, yeah. She's like, you think that I'm going to fall for that shit? And she gets up and is about to do him, and then boom, her head explodes. Okay, cool, right? And then you see B standing there with a shotgun. Blew her own friend's head off. She's like, listen, Cole, I don't want you to die, all right? He's like, yeah, because I'm like your little faucet for pure blood. She's like, you heard that, eh? Shit. He's like, yeah. She's like, okay, well, listen. We could just, get away, just the two of us. We'll start over, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, and he, like, confesses, like, I, like, loved you and stuff. Like, if you would have asked me for my blood, I literally probably would have just given it to you. She's kind of like, aw. But that's not going to be good enough. So she says something along the lines of like, we could just say that they attacked us. I guess she like kind of like has this, because they did bond, like genuinely. Obviously she's using him for this ritual and whatnot, but they did have like a genuine bond. She actually kind of liked this kid, like as a little buddy there or whatever. She's like, yeah, we could say they attacked us, we could take off just you and I. And he's like, no, I don't think so. How about this? How about I burn your stupid ass book? You tell me what the hell's going on, or your book is going up in flames. She's like, all right. So don't do that, first of all. Second of all, We take the blood of a sacrifice and the blood of an innocent, and we mix them together, and basically that gets us it grants us our biggest wish or our fondest desire or whatever. And that's the plan, essentially. So, yeah, that's not great. He says, well, fuck that anyway, I'm gonna light it on fire. And he does, and she's like, oh my god, and she's like trying to frantically put it out, and he bolts. And he steals he steals Melanie's dad's midlife crisis car, which, to be fair, nice friggin' car. It is. And he drives it through the window, and she looks up just as the car is like doing like a barrel roll through the air, because I guess he hits like the curb and it like jumped or something. I don't know. Anyway, cool scene. The physics of it doesn't matter. Flies through the window, pins her down to the ground. She's basically dying. She's like, all right, well, shit. He comes in and she looks at him and she's like, oh, I guess he got me. Hey, cool. How's it going? And they have kind of almost a little moment. She's like, listen, you never told me your intergalactic team. And he tells her, can't remember who it was. But anyway, the last two that he picked was like him and B. And she's like, oh, you little bastard. I didn't know we could pick us. Not like calling him a little bastard, but she's like, oh, you didn't say that we could pick us or whatever. And she goes to like do a little stupid ET boop thing that they did at the beginning. And he's like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And she dies, and he crawls out the car, and the cops show up, and all that stuff. And Melanie's dad's freaking out. He's like, serve and protect. What about my car? And all that stupid shit. And he's sitting on the curb, and Melanie sits with him. And the parents come up, and they run over the bully's bike, and the bully's like, oh. And then the friends of the bully are like, dude, he like just killed like 50 people. And he's like, what? So obviously he's cool. And then the two friends are like, yeah. And he's like, mm-hmm. So I guess he's the cool kid now because he killed a bunch of people. Anyway, that's essentially the end of it. And then his last line, he turns to his parents like, yeah, so they're like, what happened? What the hell happened? Are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I don't need a babysitter anymore because she's dead. He doesn't say that. But anyway, that's the end of the movie. Credits roll, and then there's one scene at the end where you have a firefighter looking through the rubble and notices the body's gone. He's like, what the hell? And he turns, and there's like a 4-millisecond clip of B flying at him with a knife going, ah, and then that cuts, and then that's the end of the movie. So there you go. Leaves it open for a sequel, which there is. Maybe I'll watch it, maybe I won't. I don't know. Not next, but one day. What did I think? It was fun. It was entertaining. I mean, it's not like the greatest movie in the world. I'm not gonna lie and say like I'm gonna, put posters of it on my wall and download every movie that every person in this film was and watch them all and be obsessed or anything. But it was fun. I don't really need to go too much into it because that's basically all it was. It was fun. There was some funny moments. The acting was a little bit exaggerated, but that's the kind of movie it was, so it was good. It suited it. There's some decent tunes in it. They did a good job of setting up like the babysitter kid buddy relationship to make it kind of, if you didn't know that it was a horror movie or a slasher movie or whatever, it would be kind of a twist, like whatever. You're kind of left wondering, like, did she just use him strictly for that, or was she kind of like his buddy too, and she didn't want them to kill him because she liked him like as a person or something? And there's even one scene where they're like, there's an easier way to get blood from him than just like drugging him and taking it from a needle all the time. And she's like, yeah, but like you're not killing him. So I don't know, you're left kind of wondering about that, but it doesn't matter, she's dead now and her friends tried to kill him. So I mean, I think that bridge would be burned either way. Yeah, all around it was fun. So what am I gonna give it? I'm not gonna go crazy, but it's a pass. This is the second time I watched it, so I might watch it again. So I'll give it a, I don't know, 6.5. I think that's fair. 6.5. Check it out if you have Netflix. It's worth a watch. It's it's not like a super serious, scary type slasher movie. There's a bit of comedy in there and whatnot, but it's a good time all around. Not too serious. Doesn't take itself too serious. But there are some heartfelt moments and whatnot too. So yeah, all around pretty solid. 6.5. That is my rating, and yeah, we'll call it a day. All right, peace.